The time is now 6 p.m. Our regular city council meeting for November 19, 2024 is now in session. First on the agenda is Councilmember Davis, who will lead us with the opening prayer and the pledges of allegiance to the flags of the United States and the state of Texas. Please rise.
Almighty God, we come before you today with humble hearts, seeking your wisdom and guidance as we gather to serve our community. Grant us clarity of thought, compassion in our decisions, and unity in our purpose. May our actions reflect justice, peace, and the well-being of all those we serve. Bless the leaders of this city with discernment and help us work together with integrity and respect. Inspire us to address the needs of our citizens, uphold fairness, and promote the common good. We ask for your presence to guide us through this meeting, and that every conversation and decision may contribute to a stronger, more vibrant community. We trust in your grace and wisdom, knowing that with your help, we can work toward a future filled with hope and opportunity for all. In your name we pray, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, Councilmember Davis. First on the agenda is we have a proclamation, Small Business Saturday, November 30th, 2024. If I could have Matt and Inga join us up here, and Councilmember Hayward will be reading the proclamation.
What would you like us to do? Come over here and then yes. I'm excited about doing this because this is my favorite place to eat pizza. And I love their, is it keto pizza?
That's right. Yeah.
It's good. You should try it. Small Business Saturday, 2024, November 30th, 2024. Whereas small businesses are the backbone of our local economy, serving as a critical foundation for the prosperity and strength of Schertz. And whereas the dedicated entrepreneurs and business owners within our community bring unique services, goods, and jobs, contributing to the vibrant character and culture of the city. And whereas small businesses in Schertz not only enhance the quality of life for residents, but also play a pivotal role in generating jobs, spurring innovation, and fostering a sense of community. Whereas Saturday after Thanksgiving, commonly known as Small Business Saturday, provides a special opportunity for residents to support and uplift local businesses, ensuring their continued success and reinforcing the importance of shopping local. Whereas we encourage the residents and visitors alike to shop, dine, explore the many offerings of the City of Schertz small businesses, which keep our city strong, resilient, and economically thriving. Whereas by participating in Small Business Saturday, we celebrate the entrepreneurial spirit that drives our city's success, inspire future local business leaders, and help build a brighter future for all. Now, therefore, be it resolved, on behalf of the Mayor, Ralph Gutierrez, Mayor of City of Schertz, we do hereby proclaim November 30th, 2024 as Small Business Saturday in Schertz, and call upon all the citizens to support our small businesses by shopping locally, investing in our community, and celebrating the significant contributions of small businesses to the vibrancy and economic health of our city.
Thank you.
Thank you. You have something? Would you like to say something?
Oh, I got volunteered.
Yes, you got volunteered.
I was volunteered. Small business. We are a product of Schertz, our company is, and small businesses make such a huge difference. It creates the flavor of the town. You don't want just another big franchise chain, national, every shopping center. You want to have local, you want to have something that shows the flavor of the town, the personality of the town. So we challenge all of our other fellow small businesses and entrepreneurs to go build a business starting in Schertz or a small town and then go out in the rest of Texas from here.
So, thank you.
Thank you. Would you like to say something?
Well, I think it's very appropriate that you all were chosen since they did win the Small Business of the Year today, nominated by other chamber members and businesses in the city. And I just can't stress enough how much small businesses are the backbone and support, and they do give, as you said, the flavor to our town. We need all businesses, but small businesses really need your support. So on Saturday the 30th, please go out and shop local. You can get all your Christmas shopping done. You can eat, get more energy, drink the coffees, and go out and shop some more. So congratulations, you all. And thank you, City of Schertz and Mayor, for recognizing. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
You know, Matt said it so plain and simple. The small businesses are the heart of our community, and they were chosen as the Small Business of the Year from the Chamber, and it was only appropriate that we ask you to come today and accept this on behalf of the small businesses. And also thank you, Maggie, for helping the small businesses throughout our community. Really appreciate it. Next on the agenda is the city events and announcements. Ms. Gonzalez.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of items for tonight. So on Sunday, November 24th, will be Walk with a Naturalist at Crescent Bend Nature Park from 3:30 to 4:30. City offices will be closed next Thursday, November 28th for Thanksgiving, and also Friday, November 29th. And then we'll be back here for our regularly scheduled council meeting on Tuesday, December 3rd at 6 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you. Announcements and recognitions by our city manager.
No announcements tonight, Mayor.
Announcements and recognitions by the mayor. I don't have any at this point. All right, next is a hearing of residents. This time is set aside for any person who wishes to address the city council. Each person is limited to 3 minutes, and we ask before addressing the council, for the record, please state your name and address. Mayor Pro Tem, please call our first speaker.
Martin Trevino.
Good evening, Mayor Gutierrez, Mr. Williams, and members of council. My name is Martin Trevino. I live at 913 Kari Cliffs in Cibolo, Texas. I'm here today on behalf of the Schertz Police Association and some anonymous letters that have been sent to the city officials, and even some city council members, as I've heard. This is our official stance, and if it's okay, I'm going to read this letter on behalf of the association. To the honorable members of City Council and City leadership, the Schertz Police Association wishes to take a moment to address recent anonymous letters circulated among city leadership, which we believe require a response. These letters, the latest of which was sent approximately 2 weeks ago, contain unsubstantiated claims regarding Chief Jim Lowry's conduct, including allegations of unethical behavior on duty and assertions that his policies have negatively influenced department morale. Having reviewed these letters in full, the Schertz Police Association finds the accusations against Chief Lowry and certain other department leaders to be baseless and unfounded. Such anonymous communications, devoid of accountability, allow authors to make harmful statements without repercussion, and we are concerned about the potential for undue damage to the character and reputation of our leadership. While these letters have not influenced the overall sentiment within the department as the authors may have intended, we feel compelled to address the broader issue of anonymity in such accusations. The letters imply that they represent the views of a majority or all department members. As the representative body of Schertz Police Department employees, the Schertz Police Association asserts that only our association has the authority to speak on behalf of the majority of department personnel. Following a thorough consultation with our board members, we confirm that no association member has approached us with concerns that align with the grievances cited in the letters. On the contrary, the Schertz Police Association fully supports Chief Lowry, his vision, his leadership. We are confident in his direction for the department and believe that morale is at an all-time high under his guidance. Thank you for your attention to this matter. We appreciate the opportunity to affirm our continued support for Chief Lowry and his dedication to our department and community. Sincerely, the Schertz Police Association. I just want to add, we are behind him 100%, and we like the way the department's moving and the direction it's moving, as well as the city and city leadership led by Steve Williams. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Daniel Jameson.
Good evening, Council, Mayor, City Manager. My name is Daniel Jameson, 1048 Richmond Drive, Schertz, Texas. And I just want to give some kudos out to Lowe's Hardware Store. They came out on 2 days and remodeled our local VFW, and they had 15 stores representing in 2 days. They repainted, remodeled the VFW. It looks 100% better than what it did. If you haven't seen it inside, outside, please, I ask you to go by, take a look, and see the remodeling that has taken place. I've contacted the magazine. They came out, took pictures. They had some before pictures, some after pictures, and I think they probably need to do some more pictures to bring it out in the January issue of the magazine. Once again, on behalf of the Post, we cannot thank Lowe's, one of the businesses here in Schertz, to offer such an honor to our fellow veterans here in the community. And they want to come back and do another project, or even 2 projects. One of those being a sprucing up a historical cemetery back behind the Starlight Theater. So, let's encourage, Lowe's and other small businesses to get involved and do that. My hat's off, and I salute them for that.
Maggie Titterington.
Good evening, Council. Maggie Titterington, 1730 Schertz Parkway. Your current chair of Schertz Historical Preservation Committee. I kind of wanted to give you an end-of-year wrap-up on a really great year with the committee. During this year, we have increased by 4 members on our committee. We have had 2 very successful events, our scavenger hunt and our trivia night. We changed storage units to a unit that is more temperature controlled to protect the artifacts that we do have. And we're actually finalizing our policies and procedures after having separated the bylaws from the policies and cleaned those up. And also going through all the digital files, which they're immense, but we want to be able to slowly separate them out. We're actually going to reach out to the Samuel Clemens History Club to help us sort through those files and put them in appropriate folders so they're easy to find when we want to use them. Also, tomorrow night is our last meeting of the year, I'm pretty sure, because the 4th Wednesday will fall somewhere in the Christmas holiday. But if anybody would care to find out more about joining the Schertz Historical Preservation Committee, it's at 6 p.m. tomorrow night, building number 2 in the Bob Andrews Conference Room. We would love to have some more people come out that are interested in preserving the history of Schertz. We have a great group of people on this committee, and we're looking forward to doing some strategic planning for possible projects for next year that could include, of course, continuing our scavenger hunt and trivia night, but also possibly producing a historic calendar where each month has a different historic building, or maybe it is the remnants of a building that is no longer being utilized, but there's some history behind it, and then each month would have that, and then we would include some Schertz holidays, things like that. We're going to talk through that as well as a few other ideas, but again, it's just been a really dynamic year, and I'm really looking forward to the more of the different projects we're going to accomplish. That is all. Thank you so much.
Ben Guerrero.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, Mr. Williams, thank you for this opportunity. My name is Benjamin Guerrero. I live on 506 Cabot Court Lane. I am retired military from the U.S. Army and living here in Schertz since 2015. I am currently a contract specialist for the government working at Fort Sam Houston. I am a candidate for the special election on 14 December, running for City Council Place 4. The city of Schertz has a reputation for having safe communities with good quality of life. However, even safe communities have challenges. This is the reason why I'm running, because I want the city of Schertz to continue to be safe, at the same time minimizing those challenges. In 2022, my church pastor, Darren Stewart, who was living at the time in the Woodland Oaks community, had his truck stolen from his home driveway. Him and his wife, Kathy, purchased another truck immediately thereafter. Then in 2023, he had his truck stolen again. On that same year, in Belmont Park community, my next door neighbor, Richard Cochran, had his truck broken into. They did take his tools and other items. Then, at the beginning of this year, Richard had his truck broken into once again. I am a strong supporter of the first responders, police, firefighters, and EMS, and I want to be part of this council to ensure our first responders have the most sophisticated equipment and the latest trainings for them to provide quality service to our residents. In addition, I am proud to say my son, Ben Jr., is currently a police officer for the Schertz Police Department. Any resident of Schertz should be and feel safe taking a walk in the dark, because our police officers are diligent and ready for any challenge. And our residents should be confident when our firefighters and EMS personnel are called to render assistance on any type of situation. In closing, I am ready to assist this council to continue to keep the residents of Schertz safe. Thank you.
Next is consent agenda items are considered self-explanatory, and information packets are provided to council and available for public viewing. These items require no separate discussion unless requested by council. Item number 1, minutes. Item number 2, resolution number 24R155. Item number 3, ordinance number 24S160. Item number 4, ordinance number 24S157. Item number 5, resolution number 24R157. And item number 6, ordinance number 24S163. Council, do any of these need to be removed for separate action? See no response. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda items 1 through 6?
So move.
Second.
Have a motion made by Councilmember Watson and second by Councilmember Macaluso. Any comments? Council, please cast your vote. We can publish the vote, please. We have 6 ayes, no objections. Motion passes. We'll move on to discussion and action items. Item number 7, resolution number 24R158. Approve the charter amendments results from the November 5th, 2024 special election. Ms. Edmondson?
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and City staff. Tonight I bring forward Resolution 24R158, ordering and declaring the November 2024 charter amendments as approved by the voters of the City of Schertz, adopted and therefore requiring certification and registration in accordance with state law. In the Local Government Code, Section 9.005, Adoption of Charter or Amendment, Item A, a proposed charter for a municipality or proposed amendment to a municipality's charter is adopted if it is approved by the majority of the qualified voters of the municipality who vote at an election held for that purpose. Item B, a charter or an amendment does not take effect until the governing body of the municipality enters an order in the records of the municipality declaring that the charter amendment is adopted. Section 9.007, certification of a charter or amendment. Item A, as soon as it's practicable, after a municipality adopts a charter or charter amendment, the mayor or chief executive officer of the municipality shall certify to the Secretary of State an authenticated copy of the charter or amendment under the municipality's seal showing the approval by the voters of that municipality. And item B, the Secretary of State shall file and record that certification in his office in a book kept for that purpose.
Thank you, Ms. Edmondson. Council, floor is open for discussion. Councilmember Westbrook.
Yes, so how is, once the mayor signs it, how is it delivered to the Secretary of State? That little, I think you said like a little word, transition to the Secretary of State? What do we?
Well, what we do is we'll send an authenticated copy of the actual resolution tonight. I also have the list of the propositions that were passed. The mayor will need to sign as certifying officer of this city, as well as I'll sign as a secretary, city secretary, certifying that all this is accurate and true. And then we'll send it to the state.
Via email, or what are we talking?
No,
snail
I'll
mail?
send them hard copies. I'll also send it via email, but they do want an authenticated copy, which would mean they want a hard copy with a hard signature.
Okay, thank you.
Council, any other comments? Councilmember Brown.
Move that we adopt Resolution 24R158.
Second.
Have motion made by Councilmember Brown, second by Councilmember Hayward. Any other comments? Council, please cast your vote. We can publish the vote, please. We have 6 ayes, no objections. Motion passes. We'll move on to item number 8, resolution number 24R120, authorizing a contract with H2O Partners Incorporated for grant writing, planning, and management services for local hazard mitigation plans program.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, Mr. Williams. My name is Brandon High, Emergency Manager for the City of Schertz. What this resolution really speaks to is that contract with H2O Partners to not only write the grant application for the local hazard mitigation plans program. Once we have a successful award from that grant application, we can then move on to produce the hazard mitigation plan for the city. So that's kind of the step process as it relates there. Before we even get there, this is a multi-tiered process. I just want to let everyone know the work that's gone in prior to this. As a region, which includes the city of Schertz, we've participated in and contributed to the development of the THIRA, the Threat Hazard Identification Risk Assessment, and the Stakeholder Preparedness Report, which is currently being updated as we speak. So that's an annual process. Once we do that, we can go after this hazard mitigation plan, and that's what we hope this firm would help us to do. I would love to answer any questions if anybody has any.
Floor is open for discussion. Councilmember Westbrook.
There you go, sorry about that. The school district has a threat and hazard, they have the threat mitigation team, or do they have something similar, or?
So the school districts also participate in this process. It's really cross-spectrum when we're talking about critical infrastructure. We talk about education, higher education, public safety, so on and so forth. All of the key players are at this table when we go through that threat and hazard identification risk assessment that is then compiled into the stakeholder preparedness review,
which is what I sent to all of you, I think, about a year ago, something like that. The school districts, of course, go through another type of threat assessment, more focused to schools and higher education as well. So they do that on top of this normal THIRA process.
All right, so what's the scope of work if you're going to submit a grant? I mean, I know you're not the grant
sure.
writer.
Yes.
But the scope of work, scope of services.
Sure. Phase one of this would be the grant application. So they'll write the grant application, that's phase one. Once that application is submitted and upon successful award of that grant, then and only then would we move to phase two, which would be the actual planning discussions, going through that THIRA and SPR that I talked about, and developing the hazard mitigation plan. So we have a little protection built in there, right? They can't move on to these other services prior to an unsuccessful award.
If you can, types of threats that we're talking about? What
what's that,
types
sir?
of threats are we talking? We're talking about shootings, we're talking about mass casualty, we're talking
sure.
about...
Specifically, this grant would be an application to the local hazard mitigation plans program. That's LHMPP. That's just to write the plan. Now, upon successful award, we write this hazard mitigation plan, which we're in our update window for. Once we get that updated, we'll be opened up to a whole bunch of federal grant programs that we can pursue.
Well, I get it. It just seems like, so maybe another way of saying it, a train derailment would not be excluded from, should you get the grant and you go through the whole planning process of this.
Yes, sir.
You would sort of, in the plan, you would sort of have train derailments, active shooters. You would plan for all of this type of stuff, right?
Yes, sir. That's
Okay.
already identified in the threat and hazard identification risk
All right.
assessment. This would actually write the plan for how we plan to mitigate those.
Okay.
Right, so putting controls in place, increasing training, improving our railroad crossings, since you mentioned a derailment, so on and so forth.
Any plans for drones?
We'd have to look at the plan, right, and what actual mitigations we think we could put in place if it correlates with a threat. There's certainly plenty of grant opportunities out there available for drones.
How many more questions do you want me to ask you?
As many as you want.
All right, thank you, sir.
Okay. All right.
Council, any other comments? Is there a motion to approve Resolution 24R 120?
So moved.
Second.
Have motion made by Councilmember Hayward and second by Councilmember Watson. Any other comments? Council, please cast your vote. We can publish the vote. We have 6 ayes, no objection, motion passes. Moving right along, we have item number 9, a workshop regarding updating the Unified Development Code in relationship to temporary signs. Ms. Delgado.
Hello, Council. Good evening. This is not deja vu. I know I'm back, just back-to-back meetings here talking about temporary signs. But after the November 12th, 5 p.m. workshop, staff took away some potential UDC amendments to include allowing new businesses the ability to obtain a permit for an unlimited number of permits, size, area for temporary signs to promote their new business, with the caveat that it would only be allowed for 30 days within 90 days of receiving their C of O. So it was really geared towards new businesses. And then a general change to the temporary signs to increase the max height to 6 feet and the max area of 36 square feet. So staff took that away from the November 12th meeting. Shortly after that meeting, the following days, staff received questions on how the proposed changes based on the November 12th discussion would impact existing businesses and their ability to have promotion, special event type signage, regardless of how long they've been in business. So, you know, an existing business has sales throughout the year, maybe they have a new item, they want to promote that as well, but the changes that were discussed last week wouldn't allow them the ability to have that kind of new business type signage. There were also questions from the residential development community if the proposed changes to the temporary signs would be applicable for residential developments as well. So based on receiving quite a bit of feedback from both business owners and the development community. We proposed some additional changes that we wanted to bring forward to City Council to get feedback on prior to us starting the actual UDC amendment process with P&Z. So that is what was included in the CCM for this item, but then I'll also walk through it here. So this would be the proposed UDC amendment language for temporary signs. Notwithstanding any other provisions of this article, the section shall be applicable to all temporary signs for both residential and non-residential developments. So that was to try to make it clear that the residential developments would also be allowed to use this temporary signage requirements. Maximum area, the maximum area permitted for temporary signs shall not exceed 36 square feet, except as described in subsection G, special event promotion temporary signs. So that was that direct change to increase to the 36 square feet. Maximum height permitted for temporary signs shall not exceed 6 feet, except as described in subsection G. Minimum setback, there wasn't a discussion, clear direction from City Council on changing that, so it still states the minimum setback for all temporary signs shall be 15 feet from any property line. The time limitations remains the same as what's in the current UDC. And then number of signs is the same as well. No more than 2 types of temporary signs shall be permitted per business or tenant at any given time. So then I mentioned this subsection G. This is that new kind of concept, special event promotion temporary signs. Any business can apply for special event promotion temporary signage in addition to the temporary signs described above with the following requirements. There is no maximum area, no maximum height, or limitation on the number of special event promotion temporary signs that can be permitted. Special event promotion temporary signs are permitted for a maximum of 30 consecutive days per calendar year with the issuance of a temporary sign permit. So that was to try to capture, this isn't just for new businesses. If you're an existing business, you can apply for this special event promotion temporary sign. You can have as many temporary signs to promote that event with the caveat that it's only for 30 consecutive calendar days. So that's my whole presentation. I have the slides from last week if we want to talk about again what temporary signs look like, but we're really just trying to get directive on if the changes that are proposed here still meet kind of the desires and intent from City Council as discussed last week, with also taking into consideration the feedback that we got from the community.
All right, thank you, Ms. Delgado. All right, council, floor is open for discussion. Councilmember Macaluso.
Just on that, the temporary promotion signs, what was the thought process behind removing any kind of limitations on the signs?
So that was brought up by City Council last week of if it's a business that's trying to announce some kind of promotion. When we talked about it last week, the idea is it's a new business, they want to get out into the community and really draw attention to their site, so no limitation on the number of
Not so much that, but you know, no maximum height, no maximum area. I mean, they could just do whatever they wanted.
Right. So I think a couple things that prompted this that we talked about a lot in that discussion was, so the inflatable tube guy, those exceed the height significantly. And so any kind of height limitation we have is going to preclude that, which then seemed problematic. The other that we've seen in many cases is businesses aren't putting up one sign, they're putting up quite a few, 3, 4, 5. And so again, I think that was the logic, as I recall it, is some of the things that people are doing on the temporary promotions vastly exceed the criterion. So it's kind of the issue we have now, right? You can put up temp signs, but they're only limited in most streets to 3 feet tall, and you can only do 2 of them at one time, right? You know, we say you can have flags, but, and we also have a provision that we've used that says you shouldn't distract drivers, and anything that moves is a distraction to drivers. So I think it was in response to what we understood that council wanted to do, which is if we want to have regulations that allow businesses to sort of get people's attention, then let's get rid of all those little requirements that effectively prevent you from doing that, was the logic that I recall up here. And so we kind of wrote it to say, if we're going to do that and it's for 30 days, do we really want to get into, well, you can only have 4, even though your 4 are bigger than the guy who's got 5 and the total size is the same kind of thing, right? It became that issue of this sort of ongoing deal of people going, hey, I run my business, I know when I need to attract attention, and we're not having a lot of finger pointing of, You know, again, some guy going, I've only got 3 signs, he's got 4, why can't my signs be bigger, right? Or mine are smaller, why can't I have 5, and he's got 4. That was the logic that staff took away from it.
Okay, maybe my memory isn't as good, but I didn't recall necessarily, everyone being supportive of having no limitations at all. To me, it would cause, I would think, more confusion by some other businesses that are, well, why did they have a sign, this blow-up thing that's 20 feet tall, and I got to have a 6-foot sign? And so, I don't know, to me, I didn't recall removing any kind of restrictions on those signs at all. I didn't recall that.
So fair enough, staff may have got it wrong, may have selectively listened. You know, again, I know one of the things we did that Emily mentioned is we changed the size of the sign because we wanted it sort of the math to match, right? So right now it can be up to this size, this many square feet, up to this tall, but that height multiplied by the same width didn't give you that number. And again, there was reference for clarity. So that was why we got into increasing the signage to 36 square feet. And I think you're right. Part of the concern is we've got people sort of pointing one way or the other. There's never a way to equalize it entirely, but I think the direction that staff understood was you've got your permanent signage, you've got your temporary signage, your normal temporary signage that we've increased the size on and the height. And then effectively what now is proposed is this once a year, 30-day kind of really grab everybody's attention signage that each business can do. Sort of deal. Because again, part of the problem is some of the things that prompted this told them, hey, you got to get your signage down. We go back and go, hey, we've run this through PNC, we've run it through council. It's 70 days later. Now a new business, but not you because you've had your CO for 90 days, could have done this, right? And that is in part what led to this. But again, good reason we're back, because if we've missed it, that's part of the benefit of coming back. Let us get clarity.
Well, if you can go back to the previous slide, I recall the amendment language, all the information. I do recall all that. I guess I just, either, like I said, either my memory is poor or whatever the case, I don't recall for the temporary, the 30-day sign, having just zero restrictions on what they can use. And I don't recall that. I mean, I guess you can see what everybody else says, but to me, I think that possibly opens up the box a little bit too big. And I don't know if I'm supportive of that, but I do remember the other language that was put into the amendment, which I do support.
Councilmember Brown.
Yeah, I agree with Councilman Macaluso. I know we wanted to open it up, absolutely.
Right.
All right, but when you read it here, it's like, you can do whatever you want, for 30 consecutive days. I think that's a little bit more than what we envisioned at this point.
Okay.
Now, again, I know that this is a weird ball to play with. I get it. But for example, you're in a multi-unit strip mall, for example, and what are they going to do? Cover up the whole sign with their temporary, we're the only new business here and you can't see any of the other businesses? Or are we going to rely on the landlords to
So I think
to
the idea,
control that?
we would rely on the property owner to manage that. So the shopping center just down the way, right? If the new Hawaiian food kind of restaurant wants to do a deal, their neighboring business like the ear, nose, throat places like, hey, I'd be blocking my business, they can go to the property owner and let them sort that out. City's not going to get into that business. Then the ENT can come in and he can get his temporary signage for, hey, we got a hearing aid special kind of thing.
But if Balloon Man is
Right.
really the one that we're not getting a handle on because of size.
I think it's the tube, the inflatable tube guy, it's the big blow-up gorilla, and then again, it's, while the smallest feather flags we found were 6 feet, they do them 8 feet, they do them 10 feet.
No, I understand the inflatables get, all kinds of sizes. I got that. But, I think the 36 square feet for a solid sign is good. I think all these other sizes and dimensions, all the days, consecutive days, I think all of that is exactly what we were talking about and it's very clear. It's just this one, the special event thing where all of that goes out the window for 30 days. And if it's just the inflatable part of it, maybe we can just say inflatables can exceed, size. If that's the only thing that it seems to be the differentiation.
Fair enough, we'll take direction from council. I think the concern we have is somebody's going to come back and go, hey, I went out and I bought these 8-foot feather flags. How come you're telling me I can only do 6 feet if that guy's got the two-man and is 12 feet tall, right? And that was the logic of it. But we're happy
And I know
to enforce whatever.
it's not a round ball. I know, I
Right,
realize that. And so it's a difficult one to word Smith so that it meets the intent and the practicality. But like I say, if the inflatables are the long pole, maybe we just say inflatables are.
Yeah, and that would be, so what you could do is take out that, you could go with kind of what we have for temporary signs and say, however, one of those temporary signs may be an inflatable and there is no height restriction. I think what that's going to prompt is a lot of those inflatables, whereas what we tend to see people want are the bigger feather flags. But again, we're happy to enforce whatever if that's what we want, the tube guy.
I mean, I'll let the other people make comments on that, but I just can't see letting them put up a 12-foot solid sign versus a 6-foot solid sign.
So just to ask a clarifying question, Councilman Brown, would there be a restriction on, say, the width? So if the inflatable guy can be 10 feet, yeah, I mean, what about something that's round but inflatable?
But that's what I'm saying is, inflatables like the Gorilla Man or, Tube Guy or whatever, they're all a little bit different as far as the dimensions are concerned, but we allow for inflatables to exceed these dimensions for that 30 days. And again, maybe inflatables and windblade flags type of thing. I don't know, it's something to think out a little bit more versus just no rules for 30 days, do each one.
No, I got you. Yeah, I mean, and again, I think practically what we've seen is you'll get a couple of the typical sort of signs, message board kind of signs, if you will. But then what we tend to see is a lot of feather flags and then a balloon, tube guy or something like that.
The current marketing stuff, and it'll go away, something else will take its place.
Yeah, exactly.
But the fact that we have larger signs by, throughout the whole thing, I think that's good because most small businesses, they're going to take that sign and they're going to reuse it. They're not just going to toss it. So a 6-foot sign, they could use it temporarily here, temporarily there, put it in the storage, and next year use it for another promotion.
Yep, I agree. And again, I think one thing is because of that we're going to take out some of the signs have to be kept in good repair. Because you're right, those feather flags in particular, they start tearing easily, and to me that becomes too subjective, right? At what point, funny enough, I was out at a residential development a couple weeks ago. They've got a row of about 6 feather flags. One, the flag part was entirely ripped off, so you've literally got the plastic tube sticking up that's just sitting there like that, and it was up for about 3 days. So as we're walking to look at something else, I just pick it up and
that's
automatically placed it on the ground to get their attention.
Must be in good repair,
Yeah, I mean, the pole was, there was just no flag on it. But I mean, I think that's where the feather flags start to rip. So again, somebody going, hey, there's just a little tear down here would kind of give sort of thing.
Councilmember Hayward.
So I wasn't here for that, but the whole idea of no maximum height, no number of how many you can put, then the question becomes when you've got like you used the example, right down the road. Are every last one of them, what if they're all having a special at the same time? Are they all going to put one out, or they see one of their neighbors put one out and say, oh, well, I need to draw business to mine? I'm just kind of, and then saying there's no limitation on how many.
Yeah, I mean, I doubt
kind of think to me, it's like a free fall, and I can do whatever I want to do, and I'm going to do it for 30 days. And then it just does not, in my mind, I cannot get it to where that's going to make sense that somebody can put the feather flag, a balloon man, and something else, and there's no height restriction, there's no number of sign restriction. I think it, and then are you saying it's 30 days once a year and they can't come back and do another one? So let's say it's a strip mall and somebody says, okay, I'm doing this one, and then, I mean.
Right, so each CO would have, each occupancy would have the ability. So the shopping center down here, it wouldn't be like, hey, the first guy came in and got it, nobody else can do it, right? Each of the businesses where the CO can do it, we would again probably do it based on a calendar year, right? And so January 1st, it's just easier to track. That way, you get basically a month, 30 days where you can do sort of your signage thing for each business. I doubt they're all gonna go do it at the same time, right? Every business down here is not gonna have them up because the businesses are sort of different. What's important to them is different. You know, maybe there's like a big, oh, they left. Maybe there's like a big pizza season or something, right? And, or, hey, we got a new kind of pizza coming out and that's gonna happen in June, whereas somebody else is doing a holiday kind of thing and they're putting the sign up in November. You know, I mean, again, we'll defer to the businesses. They kind of, you know what they need to promote their business. I think, again, going back, just not saying right or wrong, the restriction on the height limit was taken away because we had the issue with the inflatable and some of the feather flags that come in different sizes. It becomes really a challenge. How do you measure the dimensions of these sort of feather flags and the wind-driven stuff and something that's oval-shaped or a round ball, right, in the picture? And again, what we've seen is when people are, I'm opening or I've got a special, their frustration often is, I can't do enough that really attract people's attention, but we sort of defer to the business to use good taste to do something that's appropriate, I think was the logic of it. Not we're right or wrong, and so again, it's good we've come back to get clarification on it from council, and so we're open to keep working on this to hit right. I can certainly appreciate the, hey, we don't want the free-for-all. You know, I think, and again, I want to be clear, while staff is fine telling people, this is what the code is, you can't do it, can't allow it, right? I think the idea is to have something that most people, if it's not them at the time we're talking to, but sort of an uninterested bystander who sits there and listens, goes, that seems fair to me, right? Nobody likes to be told no, but the guy standing there off to the side just kind of listening to what's going on afterwards kind of goes, yeah, that makes sense. I get it. You can't make everybody happy, right? Kind of thing. So I think we're trying to find something that there's some rational logic to. So again, that's the tube guy that you can do 20 feet tall, but I got the guy griping going, how come my feather flag's limited to 6 feet when I could have done that? But no right or wrong.
I think there needs to be a limit on how many, because I think free fall, it could, haven't priced them, but they could get, you know, a small little shop and they had 10 or 20 when they really don't need that many. And to me, I think limiting the number of signs, and then I think about the 30 days. So once we do the 30 days, is it going to be neighborhood services that's going to go out and enforce that 30 days? Or are we just letting them on their honor, take it down in 30 days?
Well, no, I mean, we'd like to try with the on your honor, but no, what it would be is, again, you still have to pull a permit. I think it's $25 we looked up for the temp sign, right? So we'd issue the permit. I would say this, we would likely not, although we can get a notice pop up that, hey, issued this business, it's been 30 days, we're likely not gonna send staff because we don't have the level to go, it's been 32 days, send out to look at it, right? It's something that when we have somebody driving by and they kind of look and go, that's been up a while, when I get back to the office, let me check. Or if we get a complaint driven, that's when we would do it. Now, again, we certainly could, because the system lets us, ping that, hey, they pulled this permit 30 days ago, the 30 days is up, tell somebody when they're going out to swing by and look at it and do that. We have the ability to do that. I don't know that that was sort of the plan, but we could as a way to quash that. I believe somebody did bring up this idea of, on that kind of equity part of it, you've got a really big business, right? So let's say Walmart, how do we equate that to the ice cream place down here, right? The ice cream place is a 20-foot storefront. The Walmart's got this huge area. Again, I think there was a little bit of that dilemma of same kind of thing. How do we come up with some sort of size criteria that makes sense, right? Is it based on the size of your building? Is it based on the amount of frontage you have? Again, it's balancing we could get it nuanced, but we don't want it overly tricky, because it can be tricky.
All right. Mayor Pro Tem Westbrook.
I think y'all have done a good job with the information you've received, but sometimes it goes back to the why, identifying the problem, identifying the why, and trying to understand the intent of the council.
Right.
And so I think you've mentioned or indicated sometimes before, you're going to be able to, no matter what we come up with, there's going to be a what if that's just an off one, and
Yeah.
you're not going to be able to cover all of the what ifs. But from your understanding, if you can you tell me the why, or at the best you can, could you try to tell me why the city council, or understand the city council's intent? So if you had to explain to your staff the city council's intent, what would you be telling them?
Right, so I would start by, look, this is policy stuff, right? And this is the purview of city council. They set policy, we help them craft the ordinance, and then we go out and enforce, and we try to make it successful. It's a pure policy thing in terms of what kind of community we want to be, right? And on the signage stuff, particularly with this, you're balancing aesthetics. What do we want the community to look like? Versus you're balancing how are we working with businesses. You have to find that right balance. And so everybody, for example, drives the community and they see the McDonald's. It looks nothing like a McDonald's. It's totally different. Look how great it is. But you're kind of going, I don't know it's a McDonald's. How do I know not to, swing in and get chicken nuggets or whatever? And so that's really, it's a balance that has to be struck. There's no right or wrong with it, right? And in this case, I think the feeling is that there's a desire to assist our businesses, and you heard it tonight with the presentation on Small Business Week, particularly those small businesses don't have a big advertising budget, right? How do they better promote their business? And one way they do it is with the signage, where they're trying to get people's attention. And so council felt like the benefits to the community of supporting those businesses to help promote, was worth it, when we may have some people go, I don't like the way it looks, this, that, and the other. And that if we're going to do this, let's do it in a way that's really effective. So let's not say, oh, you can do, again, technically you could come in and say, I want to do a 3-foot feather flag, and we could let that slide. That's not helping anybody, other than you go, that looks kind of silly. And so the idea is, if we're going to go into it and let's do it and let's make it effective, not go halfway and have them go, that doesn't really help me much. That's how we would explain it to staff. It's a policy decision on the part of council. We change various ordinances at different time, and that's where we are. I think last time we talked about this was probably 8-9 years ago. I'm not sure anybody who's on council now was on the last time we had this conversation. It was the similar conversation. And I think at that point, the desire was, we just don't want to step into this, right? It's not the look that we want, and it opens up a bit of a can of worms. But times are different. You do different things different times. Doesn't always make sense.
So just as a follow-up, and this will be my last one. So anyway, I was on another committee, and this guy always asked, to what extent did you reach out to stakeholders? So you use the term effective several times. How do you define effective if we're not business owners? So effective to you, if you haven't engaged any Chamber of Commerce,
Sure.
How do we know it's effective or not? We're going by, I'm not a business owner. There may be, there are 2 or 3 on here, but.
No,
how
you're
do we
right. I
define
mean, I think that's
effective?
a fair criticism. Brian, not the be-all, end-all. I may not know what effective is. Again, I think we look for direction from council, and again, fair point that we probably could have brought up, I could have raised, which is how much public input do you want to do, right? Now, again, I would suspect, I've kind of done this a while, that if we went to the business owners, they're likely going to tell us, oh yeah, we want this is good, right? So that stakeholder group, but dollars to donuts, they're going to kind of tell me, yeah, hey, we want to ease up, right, because it benefits them. But if I went to a group of HOA presidents, those HOA presidents, I would bet, are going to say, well, wait a minute, that, right? And I think part of that, again, comes to our perspective. And I've said this is where I think council has a tough job, and staff in some ways too, which is we're thinking about the best interest of the community, the entire community. And we're thinking not only today, but 5 years from now, 20 years from now, 50 years from now, right? And so we take in this perspective that is really different than a lot of other folks to do. And so again, I think part of that is how we got here. But we can certainly go do public input on this one. You do have the P&Z kind of recommendation that happens. But again, I think that's what we're looking for council direction on, is how much of an effort on outreach do you want us to do on this or not? Right.
Councilmember Davis.
Yeah, I see a lot of the concerns here, and I appreciate the staff trying to put in some flexibility here, but I can understand the line on no maximum area and no maximum height, because that would just going to be administratively impossible to manage. I do have concerns on no limitation on the number of special event or promotion signs. I would think that if they have the ability to do the temporary signs in the previous paragraphs, I think, capping that at 2 or 3 special event signs ought to be sufficient versus saying unlimited. Because I can imagine there's going to be somebody that will push the test button and go out and get 27 flag signs or a half a dozen inflatable guys. I think 2 or 3 would be reasonable if they say, now open or holiday sale or something like that.
And I'm sorry, not to interrupt. Is that the most you can have at one time is say 3? Is that the idea?
I would say, I would say 3 special event signs in addition to
the 2 others.
The temporary signs, so that they're not, because the temporary signs include things like the sandwich boards and other things like that.
Right.
They all have height restrictions and other things.
Right.
So if you're going to turn around and say, okay, we will ignore, and I understand, like I said, the inflatable guys, I was looking online, 6 foot, 8 foot, 14 foot, 20 foot. So to me, if you're going to say, if you're having a special event, you can have 2 or 3 special event signs beyond what might be approved under permanent or temporary signage. I think that would be reasonable versus saying unlimited and opening up Pandora's box. And then the other one is when we say special event promotion signs are permitted for a maximum of 30 consecutive days per calendar year with the issuance of temporary sign permit. I can see someone looking at that and saying, well, I'm going to have my spring sale, so I want to get a permit for a sign and put my inflatable guy up for 10 days. And then I want to come back in the summer for my summer promotion and do another 10 days. I think I'm okay with limiting it to like grand openings or a significant special event. I think a wording might be better if it says that each business or each establishment with their certificate of occupancy is authorized to do special event signage one time per year, not to exceed 30 days.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, we can clarify on the wording.
Versus giving them the option of thinking, well, I can do this like 6 times a year, 5 days each.
All good to have people look at it to wording, because I think that was sort of the intent. So one question maybe, and you may go, I don't know yet, come back and we'll think, is, so are we okay with an allowing feather flags, so what we typically don't allow now are wind-driven signs at all. And what we typically get are the board with the message on it. Part of the reason to go up to the 6x6 is you could do the smaller feather flags. So are we okay with somebody who has 2 of the feather flags as part of their normal temporary signage up for 180 days, right? Which is part of what the change would have allowed. Or are we saying, nah, I don't want feather flags up for that. I want the regular signage we have. I'll give you a little more height on them. But I don't want wind driven up normally just during this promotion.
Me personally, I would rather just see the inflatables and the feather flags as part of their special event.
Okay.
I mean, that's me personally.
No, fair enough.
I don't think the feather flags are just that warranted where they need to be out
Normally.
for
Okay.
6 months at a time. And now, if you treat them as, to me, if you treat them as a special event sign, then that sort of mitigates it's been out there for 5 months and now it's faded and torn
apart.
and everything
Right.
else.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I think that certainly would.
Councilmember Hayward.
Can you go back to the pictures? I'm trying to look at them, and growing up in a large city and driving around some cities.
It could be Houston.
Could be Houston, yes. They're actually going away from all of that and doing these new things, these billboards. Of course, most of the places they're going to, people are walking. They have something that looks like a big giant iPhone that has information about the businesses and changes and that kind of thing. I guess businesses want them, but to me, I think all this is tacky, in my opinion. I don't, and I know it's all subjective. I don't like those. And most of the time, seeing a sign like that does not cause me to go, oh, I need to go over there and see what's there. And sometimes I don't even pay attention to them. I'm just like, okay, whatever. And I'm moving by. Because I just keep thinking about what is the city that we want. We keep trying to say that we're a premier city. That's what we like to sell. So as a premier city, do we really want feather flags and, you know, the dancing man? I mean, for me, that's subjective. I don't like them. But, I mean, if the majority of council says this is something, then fine. But I think it needs to be limited. Because you can just get so many in a row that after a while, and I can just say this from just doing the election and being at El Bell, with some people having 30, 40, 50 signs over there. It's just noise. You don't really pay attention to anything. You just see it and go, whatever, and you're not paying attention. So to me, when you limit the number, if we're going to do it and limit the number to an odd number, because typically mines work with having these odd numbers, then it doesn't become just wind noise or noise. Because the more you can put out there, it's tacky. I've never liked them. I don't like the little floppy man. I've just never, that's me. I've just never liked that. But if the rest of council does, I can live with it, but I think it needs to be limited to 3, maybe. 2 of the little flags and the floppy man, but nothing more than that, because I think it just becomes too much noise and it just starts to look really tacky, and it doesn't, to me, fit in that hole where we're saying we're a premier city and we're trying to be the corridor to the future. There's got to be other ways to draw people in to your business. It's just how I see it. And the whole 30 days, I think, I agree with Councilmember Davis, it needs to be written, because if somebody's going, oh, I can do 5 days here, 5 days, so then when does it end? You know, or they go, oh, I'm just going to do 3 days, and then, so then you're trying to deal with somebody just wanting to do a few days at a time. It's 30 days,
We
period.
can certainly tweak the wording on it.
And
Fair enough.
that's all you get, and we're done with it. And and the temporary signs, yeah, I think maybe it's the temporary sign, I get it, but for special events, I'm not truly excited about all of these different signs.
Councilmember Brown.
And the other thing here is, and you've mentioned it in there as well a couple of times, but we need to kind of back off and relook at it, is even application across the city. You know, if everybody, all businesses have the same rules, and it's not like, well, that guy over there is getting away with an inflatable, why can't I? Well, he's not supposed to have an inflatable, but if he can get away with it, I can get away with it. If we apply it evenly across the city, then everybody is limited to our city ordinance. You know, and there shouldn't be an argument at that point. You know, some people believe in the marketing, like you say, you know, they want the inflatables. Some people want you know, they'll put fireworks up if you let them. You know, but you know, if everybody has the same standard, they'll figure out how to work within it. I'm a small business, I understand. You know, there are times when you want to put something extra out there, you know, but it's not all the time. You don't need it out there all the time, you know, because I know where, well, HEB isn't a good example, but, you know, I know where Shipley's Donuts is, you know, and Einstein Bagels just opened up last month. Yeah, they had kids out there with 6 or 8, you know, yard size signs, you know, trying to get traffic to pull in. Okay.
And just to be clear, that doesn't count. If you hold it, we don't regulate it at all, because Dan can chime in on that.
And that's fine.
Like
but I'm just saying,
attorneys for hire or something
yeah.
like that.
But I'm just saying, you know, I know that they just opened up and, you know, for 5 days or whatever, they had people out there, you know, doing that. I don't really care. You know, and if they had a, you know, a blow-up bagel in there, I wouldn't care for, you know, a few days either. But after that, you know where they're at. You know,
Right.
do they really need all of that?
So certainly fine. Again, we could go back to what kind of the conversation I think started, which is you get it after your CO. I think we're just kind of giving you some feedback of, you know, if I missed it. So you certainly would have a whole lot less if you restricted it to just a CO and the 3 kind of a thing. And if you're going to do that, I'm not, you know, if you went with that, then I'm not sure the residential stuff makes sense, because them getting it up for 30 days, they're going to be out there for 2-3 years trying to market those houses. I'm not sure it does them a whole lot of good, because typically it's sort of back in the neighborhood, and, you know, they would argue as more houses get built, more need for it kind of thing, but.
And again, those businesses also have the internet and marketing and everything else. A true small business, you know, they're depending on that drive-by, see me, you know, and once you see me, you know where I'm at. If I provide a good service, a fair price, you're going to come back and see me. So.
No, it's no perfect balance here.
Tough. There's not a right or wrong answer,
There's
right?
not.
I mean,
There's not.
that's part of the challenge. This was not a right.
And even if we come out with, you know, some of the guidance as council related, there's going to be individuals that will push the limit, abuse it. New innovations will come out, and we'll be having the same discussion. But at this point, I think we have some direction on which way we want to go, and
if staff could maybe get clarification from someone as to that consensus direction, that might help.
Yeah, I think there's been a lot of discussion about a lot of different things and ideas, but what we're really seeking is a clear direction to write a code to be able to put that into practice.
I think there was a limit of 3 signs. The special events, grand opening.
So it's just related to the new CO.
The new
You're
CO.
capped at 3 plus your 2 regular temp sign. There's no height or size restriction on those 3 for 30 days. It only applies to commercial, not res.
One time per year, not to exceed 30 days.
Okay, so just to be clear then, so it's every business can do it one time a year for up to 30 days at a stretch. So it's not just limited to the new business opening. Is that
Correct.
great?
I'd be okay with that.
Special event.
Okay.
Yes.
And the other change to the size restriction based on the type of street, that's okay to just change that to 36 square feet, 6 feet high
Okay, so what?
for the 180 days.
So maybe to go back and again, make sure we're clear, if you want to go back to your language. So we're going to clarify the draft language to make clear it's one time for up to 30 days. You can't split it up, can't do it more than 2 times per year. And then the only thing that we would say on the special event is, you know, is simply there is a maximum of 3 special event temporary promotion signs, but there's no maximum area height limitation, et cetera. And then again, clarification on the language. That's what we're looking to do. And it only applies to commercial, not res. Is that? But any business, not just new.
Going once?
All right.
Going twice?
Tell me,
My focus initially was just in regards to the grand
right.
openings.
And is that what y'all want to stick with again?
But I do like the once a year.
Or again, not to complicate it, what you could do is every business with every CO, you get it one time, right? So that's a way to deal with, say, Matanga showing up and go, hey, we've been here a few years. How come I can't do it? You could do it and say, you get it one time. Once you've done it that once with that CO, you're done. So it's not the once a year, but it balances the existing business going, hey, how come I can't do it because the rule wasn't in effect? Well, you can do it once we've made it equal.
Right.
That
There's a consensus for that? It's a one-time?
Councilman Macaluso, do you want to add to that?
I think I'm in the minority, so I don't think it matters. But I just driving down WW White this last week, it's not totally different. It's the same thing. To me, it looks terrible. So I'm not a big fan. And I understand it's not about me. It's about the businesses. I think a lot of residents would feel the same and not be a big fan of the signs. But, some of the small business owners, they just don't have the budget to do some of the big marketing things that everybody else does. So I understand there needs to be a happy medium of some sort. To me, I think, having it's going to be hard administratively for you guys to keep up with anybody that's necessarily going over, hey, over the 30 days for the one sign, 180 days for this one, you're going to have this floppy guy because if somebody else saw this one with a floppy guy, hey, maybe you can do that if you have, I don't know, you're going to have issues with it, I think, no matter what. To me, if it was a perfect world, I would say that we kept the rules the same for everything, regardless if it was a special event or not. And that way it's easier, it's across the board, and there's no, well, this guy can do this guy can do that. That's my opinion.
Councilmember Hayward?
I would agree with Councilmember Macaluso. So you're not in the minority completely.
Any other comments?
Just a question to clarify. This does kind of represent what we would consider an increase, right, in the number of signs. So are we okay with increasing the number of temporary signs across town for 180 days of the year for each business? That's what I was hearing, so I want to make sure. Right?
Well, what I understood Councilman Macaluso said is, look, I'm okay going the 6x6 36, but you get your two signs. Don't really want to get into this big wind-driven thing at all, right? Keep your same kind of stuff. And basically keep the same reg we've got, except we'll adjust the size a little bit, but really don't want to see wind-driven signs because they kind of are what looks tacky.
I would say that's 100% accurate.
Good with that as well.
I like the idea of no wind-driven signs.
So does that mean no floppy man and no feathers?
What I just described that I understood Macaluso said, which would be, look, keep the sign ordinance the same, except on the temporary signs, just go up for everybody and say, your current two, they can be 6x6 36, but we still keep in the provision of no wind-driven signs, because we really don't like the way they look. It becomes a problem either way.
And again, as long as it's applied across the board,
Yeah, and let me say this
theoretically,
again on the
nobody will have them,
across-the-board
and
application.
nobody's going to have a step up.
Yeah, we currently have this, the 180-day thing. And again, my impression is that they're not printing out a report every week going, all right, here are the people 180 days up, right? It's when they get a little bit of a lull, Lisa goes out and goes, check the permits we've issued where we haven't gotten final inspections called and start tracking those down, and then send somebody out on the sign stuff, give so-and-so this north, go over to code enforcement, they're going down south, have them look for those, and then we'll kind of give notice, right? And then as we see stuff that jumps out at us, we'll pull over and we'll deal with it. I think the frustration at times is somebody in their mind is, I'm driving to deal with this issue that I know is up there. As silly as it seems, they're not kind of looking everywhere and stopping at everything. They're kind of thinking about where they go. Sometimes they notice, sometimes they don't. But what we'll get then is they'll either notice something, we'll get a complaint on something, and then those people often go, well, what about this, 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 and this? And we go, all right, you got a complaint? I'll head down there and I'll do those. And that tends to be how it sort of happens. The other thing I'll say is we try not to approach this really heavy-handed. And so what we try to go is, hey, you need to take your sign down. It's not allowed by code. Here's what's allowed. Here's what you can kind of do. You just kind of need to get them down, right? There's a little bit of difference if they've got the sign in the right-of-way, I think, which was one that popped up going, hey, it's in our right-of-way. It needs to come down now, versus, hey, you're doing your thing. We're going to come back tomorrow. We'll come back Monday. You need to take them down. And frankly, that's how some short-term special events deal with it. Is, okay, yeah, no, we understand. It'll be down before you come back tomorrow. When the event's over in 4 hours, they pull them in, right? So we're not, part of that is how we approach. We think we do that consistently with folks. It's not a heavy-handed kind of thing, right?
From what I remember, if someone was having an event at the Civic Center, they couldn't put the sign out, but it had to be like, if it was in the back of a truck or a pickup,
Yeah.
it was allowed
So what
because it wasn't on the property.
Right, so with the exception of political signs, which are a whole different animal, when you have an event, we don't let you post a temporary sign out in front of our facility, right? Because we do something different a little bit than everybody else with our stuff, and so we don't do that. What we don't regulate, though, right, is if Councilman Macalusa wanted to wear a sandwich board and walk up and down the sidewalk advertising whatever, he can do that. That's not considered a sign. You can put much like you do, you can put, hey, re-elect councilwoman, hey, we're on a magnet on your truck. We don't regulate that as well. We also don't want to regulate, like somebody at one of the events had a big wooden thing they built in the back. I don't regulate that. So if they want to pull up the thing and park it there, we don't treat that as signage. So we don't regulate that at all. Now, again, what we'll do if somebody's renting the Civic Center and they park something in a way that's a problem is that the owner of the Civic Center who's leasing to them will walk over and go, hey, this is a problem for this reason, you kind of got to move it. But yeah, if you want to park a truck here or at the church or at the business with a big thing in the back, you can have at it because we don't treat that as signage.
Okay.
Right, so, I mean, that's just, now again, you could run all sorts of crazy scenarios with that, blow a feather flag and blow a balloon and stuff like that, but we just don't regulate it as signage.
Okay.
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 All right. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Ms. Soga. I think we're done on, oh, we do have Councilmember Westbrook.
Can somebody just summarize where we're going?
I will try and probably not get it right, but what I understand we want to do then, right, is we're basically saying we're going to up the size of the sign, 6 by 6, 36 for the temp signage to begin with, right? But beyond that, we really don't want feather flags or balloon signs at all, and so kind of keep with what we have with a little bit increase on the temp signs, which is up to 2. We don't allow wind-driven. Make sure we're enforcing consistently, and again, that's what we're doing. So it's a minor modification to the code, I would say, is where we ended up.
I think,
Can I ask, Mayor, is that,
yes.
that's the consensus of the
I
council?
believe there's no comment from council, so I think that is the consensus of the council.
Okay. Thank you. And I
right.
appreciate the patience
Thank
with
you.
us. Try to get clarity. Thank you, Emily.
All right, we'll move on. Council, any possible updates or information requested from staff? No. Council, any possible items you'd like to place on a future agenda? Seeing none. All right, we'll go on to announcements by council members. Mayor Pro Tem Westbrook.
I have nothing, Mayor.
Councilmember Davis.
Yeah, I did have the honor of attending, at least partially, the Parks Board meeting last night before we had our election certification.
Councilmember Watson.
Nothing tonight.
Councilmember Macaluso.
I got to participate in the Hal Baldwin golf tournament last week. Got to play with Councilmember Brown and had a good time with the staff there.
Councilmember Hayward.
Yes, I didn't make the council meeting last week because I was in Tampa attending the National League of Cities Summit, and it was a very long event, but lots of good information, and the chamber luncheon today.
Councilmember Brown.
Yeah, I became the laughingstock at the golf tournament, and Councilman Macaluso had a good time watching me.
All right. With that, the time is now 7:19. We stand adjourned.
There we go.
Those are ornaments that you can pass around to anybody you like.
On the tree lights.